Hey everybody, I'm Marianne Shiozawa, and you're listening to the You're Doing Great Mom podcast.
It only up until I was around 13, and I guess that's when I probably started to be a bit rebellious and be my own person and start to do what I wanted to do and rule my own world as such. So hence wanting to have a baby at 15 years old.
Hey, welcome back. This is episode 8. And before I introduce my next episode guest, I wanted to just talk about how I've been meeting these amazing, interesting, strong women, these mothers. A lot of people give Facebook a lot of issues. A lot of people just don't like Facebook, and they say it's fake news. Some people call it fake book or flake book, and people hide behind fake book. And there's been some statistics about how, people like to be around with people and they like to be sociable, but then the more you spend time on Facebook, the more isolated people tend to feel. So I can understand that. But I have a very clear purpose when I use Facebook, and one of them happens to be to find all different types of women from all over the world. And without Facebook, I wouldn't have been able to meet these women. And today, having a great conversation, really interesting conversation with Rebecca McColl, and she lives in Brisbane, Australia, in Queensland. And I've never been to Australia before, but I just thought it was just really, really great to connect with somebody way over there. It was like 10:30 at night for her. It was lunchtime for me. And we just really connected. We had a great time. And without Facebook, I would not have been able to meet this person. And so I'm really looking forward to meeting women from all over the world, whether they are in Australia or Tokyo or all different countries. And I think it's just a really good opportunity. So I just thought I'd put that out there. Anyway, before we start here, please subscribe. I would really love it if you guys just went to iTunes. I'm getting a lot more listeners, a lot of people listening, especially now that it's become international. And if you just hit subscribe, and if you want to put in a few interesting good words in the reviews, I would really, really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode. It was really great to meet Rebecca and to have this conversation with her. Her story is really inspirational. Thanks for being here, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
So you're all the way in Australia, and where exactly?
I'm in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia.
Oh, okay. And so what's the weather like over there right now?
It's not too bad. It's probably around 23 degrees, and it's 10:30 p.m. at night.
Wow. And so it's getting cooler now, right? These days?
It is.
How it is? Okay,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
I think, down to about 17, 18 of an evening. So.
Yeah. I mean, sorry that I'm like jumping into the weather, but like it's, I think I had somebody on here who is Australian, but she lives over here in Europe. And, that was Melissa Sanford. That was she's Australian, but she's been over here for I think 20 years or something like that. So you're my first Australian that's actually like recording from home in Australia. So
yeah. So no, that's I actually heard Melissa's podcast. I think it was. So
yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really really great. So I'm really interested in your story because your description about your entry into becoming a mother was, I think, probably unexpected, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess it wasn't unexpected for me. I actually, funnily enough, planned to have a baby that young.
Oh, did you?
So yes, I did.
My goodness,
So
That sounds very interesting because most you had your first you were pregnant at 16.
I was actually pregnant at 15. So
Oh.
I had, yeah, just almost 16. So I
Mhm.
had my daughter when I was 16, my first child.
Mhm.
And yeah, I thought that, I was in love and I'd be with this person forever. And I, thought that I knew everything and I wanted to be a mum.
That's wow. That's the first, I
Yeah.
think. I think that's do you get people to say that to you?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
even the girls, my daughters even say, "No, you did not want to." And I say, "Yeah, I did."
Oh my goodness. And what were
Mm.
your parents saying? I mean, what was your family life like?
Well, I didn't have my dad around, so my
Mm.
dad left when I was around 18 months old. So I did have a stepfather for a number of years, only up until I was around 13, and I guess that's when I probably started to be a bit rebellious and be my own person and start to do what I wanted to do and rule my own world as such. So um, hence wanting to have a baby at 15 years old.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess mum, was pretty surprised. And but obviously I was very independent. I was living out of home already, so I
Oh,
had
I see.
yeah, I had moved out of home. I was still I was still at school and just about to finish middle school here, so year 10. And when I decided to obviously have a baby and leave school, I actually had a number of teachers come around and speak to me and at home and try and convince me to stay at school because I was a good student, but I decided not to.
And when did you tell your mother? Did you tell your mother before you got pregnant or when you got?
No, 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 afterwards. So I think I was around about 3, 4 months pregnant when I told her, yeah.
Oh, and that this was planned.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that is really
Yeah.
interesting. Were
Yeah.
you always just super independent and super advanced, in terms of your
Yeah.
maturity?
Yeah. I was very independent as a child, I guess. Yeah, so I was always quite strong-willed. Yeah, so I guess I spent a lot of time living with my grandmother, and so yeah, I wasn't I didn't have that family connection all the time, so yeah, I just thought that I could do it, and obviously I have done it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. And yeah, keep going. This is really I'm so eh, just amazed and because I've never met someone who knew who who at that age knew that they wanted to have a
Yeah.
baby and wanted to be a mother. And were you, I mean, if you don't mind me saying, were you trying to fill a void there, or was it like,
You know, at the time, I didn't think that, but obviously, I'm a lot older now. I mean, my firstborn daughter, is 23 years old now, so I've had a lot of time to
yeah.
reflect, and I think. I've done a lot of personal work, self-development work in the last few years, and I think I think there was that void with, not having that family all together and my dad leaving when I was younger. That's from reflection time. That's the way I see it now. I wanted to have that family that I didn't previously have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Mm.
and and so yeah, I could see
It
that.
didn't work out that way.
Okay. Yeah, so what did happen?
Well, basically, the father of my first daughter, he was quite young too. He was when I had her, I was 16. He was 19, so that was still quite young when you think for a male maturity level and so forth. And look, we were together for around about another 2 years, and it wasn't a really good relationship. So there was a lot of violence and things like that. So I eventually got away from all of that and met another person who I married and had another 2 children with. So I ended up being married. I was 21 when I got married. And I had my second daughter when I was 22 and my third 18 months after that.
18 months after that. Wow.
Yeah. So I had endometriosis, and the doctors told me that look, if you wanted to have more children, you might try and do it now. And so it happened very quickly.
And when you were pregnant with your first at 15, 16, did you do any reading, any research about being pregnant and taking care of yourself and different ways to go through, to prepare for labor and birth? Did you do any of that?
No, look, a little bit, not really. I guess back then we didn't have, the access to social media and the internet and all these things. So I did get some information, obviously, from the hospitals and so forth. Little leaflets and books, and I went to all of my outpatients appointments and things like that. So, but obviously. Now, it would be a different story. There's a lot more information available.
Yeah, it would. It would be. Yeah, it would probably be. Because I'm sure it exists. It's not that uncommon. I would think. I mean, if a 15-year-old is mature and thinks or really feels that she wants to be a mother, she's a lot more, there's so much more resources available instantly, right? So
yeah, that's exactly right. So, and I mean, looking back at it now, I think, wow, that was so young, but obviously at the time you don't think like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
Wow. And here you are.
Yeah, so I guess just on that when we're talking about having children so young and so forth, obviously I did the best I could at the time, but I would say I note that there was a significant difference in my parenting from that age to when I was a little bit older. I was still quite young, obviously 22 and 23, but you just see things I guess a little bit differently. Yeah. So and I do acknowledge that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you were discovering a lot about yourself as a mother. I mean, if you can talk me through, that's just really interesting because as a teenager, just in the whole, just the natural element of being a teenager, there's so much self-discovery anyway.
Yeah.
And then to add being a mother, which is an enormous, it is the hardest job in the world, right? So jumping into that, adding that to the mix, and then discovering yourself. And, you said that you did so much self-development work, which is really cool, that you were able to go to choose that path to how did you get into that, all that stuff?
Look, I guess, as I said, I spent a lot of time when I was younger with my grandmother, and she was very spiritual and things like that. So, I've always had that deep, I guess, soul-searching side, and I like to write and things like that. So I guess it was an emotional balancing type time for me. And but I must admit, it was really difficult. It wasn't like, you run out of something. You can't just drive to the shop because you don't have a license and you don't have a car. And obviously, working, so money's tight and things like that. So there's a lot of challenges, and then of course you lose a lot of friends, and then they're all going out and doing things, and then off to travel, and you've got a baby. So, but look, I accepted that responsibility, so that's the path I went down.
Mm-hmm. And did both your grandmother and your mother help you?
Yeah, so my grandmother was a bit further away at that stage. And I actually moved interstate not long after having my daughter. So I was well away from family. So, I mean, I'm talking like 2,500 kilometers away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's not like they would pop in, just hi.
No. I mean, when I lived closer, yeah, mum did help a bit, and I'd call her up when I needed things, and she'd pop in and say hello and so forth. So that was good. But obviously, when I moved away, which was when my daughter was a toddler, that was quite difficult.
Mm-hmm. And then and that's when you stayed there, and then you met your current husband when you were 21.
Yeah. So I got married when I was 21, as I said, and had the two other girls, and and so then I ended up though being divorced when I was around 29, I think it was. So we were together, probably for around about 8 years, and we're actually still great friends now. So it was just that I was just on a level where we both wanted different things, and I wanted to sort of, I guess, more discover even more of myself and be independent. So that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, were you a single mother for some time? And
yeah, look, I've been a single parent for the last 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since that your first husband.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I've only had one husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since then, yeah. So I've been a single mom and worked. Worked in corporate, as you may know. So that brings challenges also.
Yeah. So how was that? Was it this? Did you seek out the corporate? I mean, I read a lot about. I read your in description, and if you talk a little bit about how you got into, how did you manage, the corporate life, and then being a single mother and having 3 girls.
Yeah, well, I didn't seek it out at all. I was just struggling to get by, really, and I was working in real estate, and obviously I'd done that for a number of years in property, just sort of in the office side and property management, which is rentals. From when I left school, basically, I've always worked. I've never not worked, and I ended up taking a sales position, and I was working for real estate, and I did this great presentation somewhere at one time, and someone recognised it and asked me to meet with them the next day, and basically gave me a job offer that blew me away, and I had no idea that these roles even existed, so business development manager. And basically, within 12 months, I was a sales manager, and then around about 2 years after that, I was the national sales manager for that company. So,
oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, so I just kind of fell into it, and and did that for a good eight years or so, and but it was extremely long hours. It was on average probably 16 to 18-hour days.
Wow.
And so it was hard, but I did it because I really wanted to give the girls a good education and, you know, the opportunity to do sports and things like that I might not have been able to do when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was that balancing act of, you know, and I often thought, you know, which way do I keep doing this or what? Because, you know, you are sacrificing time with them and you know, sometimes they'd have their, oh, you know, we're at our friend's house and such's parents baked afternoon cookies and they did this and that. And, of course, they didn't get that with me because I wasn't there. So, I mean, I did have flexibility where I travelled on the road about a lot. So I was able to attend all school functions and dance concerts and all these kind of things, you know, in between working. It'd be rush in, see the kids perform and then rush out back to work. And I guess, you know, I'd get home maybe 7, 8 p.m. of an evening and cook dinner and help with homework. But then sort of by 9, 10 o'clock, I was back on my phone and my laptop and things. So it was a juggling act. And as I said, I often felt a little bit bad thinking, you know, well, which way do I go? I can either leave and get a job that's not so demanding, but then I'm not going to have that income to give them that education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must have been at the moment really difficult for you because you were good at you were good at your job and you seemed to liked it. You liked it. You got a lot out of it.
Yeah, I did, and but I guess it was more. I would have given it up in a heartbeat if the girls, you know, if I thought that I could still provide for them, because, you know, I'm not sure about the cost of. I mean, everywhere in the world, I guess education's expensive, but you put 3 girls through private school, and, you know, it's around about $24,000 a year here to do that. So that's, and, you know, that's a whole salary, a whole annual salary to somebody.
Oh yeah, for sure, easily.
So so I kind of got stuck in that. You know, at times even when I wanted to withdraw and maybe work for myself or take a less stressful job or less demanding job, I didn't, because I really just wanted to see them get through to finish their schooling.
Mm-hmm. So if it's interesting, because if I was to ask your daughters what chunk of their lives when they were growing up with you, what would be like, you know, when someone asks you, like, what was your childhood like? You know, what do you think they would say in terms of you, you know, their perception of their childhood in terms of, you know, because I can tell, because based on what you were saying in your description and before, that your daughters are really independent and well grounded, and, you know, and so to meet your daughters and knowing what you went through and being a single mother and working so hard, it would be interesting to me to hear what they would say if I said something like, you know, so what was it like growing up with your mom being so successful? And, you know, because that's just, it's not the standard way. And for a mother to, you know, raise 3 kids, single mother, and be quite successful in her, you know, in her job, and, you know, for them to see you go through that's quite, I think that's unique.
Yeah. And look, I've had that actual discussion with them and as have other people, and it actually, obviously it's changed a little bit from now that they're a little bit older, because they're 16, 17 and 23. And, you know, if it was probably 3 or 4 years ago and you asked that question, it would be, oh, you know, Mum was hardly ever home. Mum's always on the phone. Mum's always working. You know, we don't get time and we don't get family time and these kind of things. Whereas now, when you speak to them about it, you know, they're very, I guess, grateful, and they recognise, I mean, they've all got jobs now themselves, so they recognise that there's a balancing act, and they obviously don't balance children, but, you know, they're balancing school and uni and work, and sport and things like that. So they definitely will say, in particular, the eldest now, I really appreciate everything that you did for us, and I know I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Oh, she's said that to you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and she's said it, in public as well, and things. So yeah, it's, which is quite nice.
Can you just repeat that?
So yeah.
It was breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat the
Oh,
last few
I said,
sentences you said?
yeah, no, she said that she's very grateful a number of times, and she's said it in public, in front of people, and at her 21st birthday party and things like that. So that was quite nice.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah. Wait till she has her first child.
Yeah, then she might even think even more. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess and feedback from, I guess, their current employers and their school teachers and things that I've always got was that they're very independent, and they're very strong-willed, and they've got a lot of determination and things like that. And I guess they've got that from seeing me, I guess, work. And I worked in, obviously, the construction industry here, so a very male-dominated industry. And so they've seen challenges between genders and workplace issues, and they've seen lots of different things. I guess they spent a lot of time in the car with me, when I was having phone conversations about business. So they've got very, very good communication skills, and so they've learnt, and they've taken on those skills. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, kids, that's what they do. They learn by watching and observing, and so, and you were really largely their sole focus, their sole center of attention, sort of thing. So
exactly.
You were leading them just automatically. And one thing that interests me, only because I'm a mother of 3 as well, but my eldest, I have 2 girls, and my eldest is 11, and she's entering into like preteen kind of, it's definitely kicking in. So, one thing that I've been kind of mindful of is, what is it going to be like? Because I keep getting told by parents by people who have older children, they're like, oh, just you wait, it's going to get harder and harder. I'm thinking, how's that possible? But my question, I guess, is that, like, I think it's different for girls and boys, but since you have daughters and you have that experience, did you have to go through this period of just peer pressure and drinking and drugs and
definitely definitely it's, and look, I guess I don't think that it got harder. I think it actually got easier for me. And I guess maybe that's because a lot of people tell me it's because of the age gap, or the lack of age gap, I guess, between me and the girls, that I can relate to the situations that they may find themselves in. And I guess I spoke very openly and honestly with them about situations that they might find themselves in. And, a lot of the times they wouldn't actually want me to talk to them about things, whether it's alcohol and drugs and parties and things like that, because, what would I know? I'm just a mum. But I think it's just, it's just educating them. And I was very strict as well, though. Like, I guess I would let them do things, but I demanded that respect, that, I wanted to know where they were and who they were with. And, I wanted to chat to the parents and things like that. And sometimes they didn't like that, but, they now understand that it's because I wanted to make sure that they were safe, and I wanted to make sure that they understood that it's all about the environment that they put themselves in. So, if you're feeling uncomfortable in an environment that you can just call and I'm not going to question picking you up, and things like that where they feel, I guess, secure. And look, that doesn't mean that they did every time, of course, but I just wanted them to know that I understand the situations that you may find yourself in more than you understand them. Because that's what it's all about. They just, and it was, I guess, getting through to them that it wasn't that I had a distrust or mistrust in them. It was just, I didn't want to see them put into certain predicaments and not be prepared for them.
Yeah, yeah. And you, when did you start your discovery or just self-development, like working on yourself in terms of self-development, and when did you start doing that?
Probably around about 5 years ago. I mean,
Okay.
I'd always done a little bit. I'd done journaling. As I said, I loved poetry and writing. That was my emotional cleanse type thing when I was younger. When I probably started writing when I had my first daughter. But obviously, I was in that domestic violence situation, so that was my expression. That was my let go. And I didn't get to do that, obviously, working so many hours. It was just work, work, work. And so probably around 4 or 5 years ago when I decided to start looking after myself, and I stepped back from the corporate and started my own business, I recognized that you needed to have that time out. And I had some health issues come up, and so I had to take the time and say, okay, you're not listening to your mind or your body. So, what are you doing here? And let's reflect on maybe why certain things have occurred in your life, and why you feel the way you do about things, and it's been a really great journey, to be honest.
That's great. What was the health problem?
So I was around 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder. So I'm only one of 19 in the world with it, which is
really
wonderful. Yeah. So anyone I tell, even if the doctors try and Google it, and there's
nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, so it basically, short of it is, I went to bed one night thinking I had a normal cold and flu, and woke up the next morning and my kidneys were shutting down, and I had put on around 9 kilos of fluid from my waist down. So so I was obviously rushed to hospital, and had loads of different surgeons and doctors coming in, and they didn't know what was wrong. So it took them around about 2 weeks to actually diagnose through, sending blood work over to the States, actually, and biopsies and things like that. So, yeah, it's like a combination of different autoimmune. Yeah, so I had that. Yeah, so that sort of stopped me from working for about 3 months and started a little bit of reflection time. But, of course, I went back to working really hard. And then around about 2 years after that, I had a extremely large ovarian tumour. So, yeah, so that was when they took it out, it was 19 centimetres by 12 centimetres.
Whoa.
So very
was
big.
It?
Yeah.
It must have been. You must have noticed it. Like it was.
No.
Really, it was going. It was going into your body.
Yeah. So it grew towards my back. Yeah. So the scans are amazing. So they say it's around about a soccer ball size. So around 6 months pregnancy size. Yeah.
And what was? You must have been really uncomfortable.
Oh, look, it was more. I just went for a normal checkup, and I said to the doctor, I seem to need to go to the toilet a little bit more often on my drives for work. I think I need to stop. Maybe I'm drinking too much coffee. And so she said, oh, look, we'll just have a check. And she said, oh, I think you need to go and have an ultrasound. And I said, oh, really? So that's how, yeah. So,
oh, wow.
I was
you didn't
really
know?
surprised. No, I had no idea. Yeah, so that was a big shock because obviously that was a massive operation, and you know, you being in the medical side, you probably know that they can't, well, over here they can't anyway, they can't test for ovarian cancer until obviously they take it out. Well, that's here anyway. So in preparation for that surgery, you know, you see the oncology team and you see the cancer nurses and things like that. So it's quite, I guess, stressful, emotionally draining to go through that and, you know, have a 7.5 hour surgery and
Wow.
wake up not knowing, you know, because they
Yeah.
basically give you 3 different scenarios depending on what's going to happen, what happens during the surgery as to what they'll remove and what the outcome is afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so there was that.
And
Yeah,
that
so
was how
luckily it was
many?
all clear. That was 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And then around 18 months ago, I had a breast tumor removed as well. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so
So the last
as I said,
last 5 years has been this big shakeup.
yeah, but I think it's you know, it's your body saying, I'm a big believer in that, you know, your stress accounts in your body in different areas and things, and if you're not listening to the little signs, then they grow and grow until they make you stop.
Exactly. Yep.
So I recognize that now, and hence why I work for myself and I take time out and, I meditate and I really look after my health. So,
And
yeah.
do you like what do you think started it all? I mean, was it partly because you were working so much? Was you
With
know?
with the autoimmune, most definitely, because even the doctors and I saw every kind of specialist you can imagine, all sort of said there would have been that much stress build up in your body, working, for 7-8 years straight, 16, 17, 18 hour plus days, most of the time 6-7 days a week.
Wow.
That's just crazy.
It is.
So, yeah, so, your body can only take so much,
Yeah.
as can your mind. So they said it's just, you're just overworked and not looking after yourself. So definitely, I think not having that balance did create that, where it was just shutdown time. And, as far as the ovarian and the breast tumors, obviously from a medical point of view, I'm not exactly sure, but as I said, I believe that from an emotional point of view, I think it's got a lot to do with holding those emotions
Yeah.
in certain areas of your body, and that's all related to, I guess, parenting and motherhood and things like that. And your past, I guess, issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when women have tumors, growths, or any kind of diseased tissue, whether it's endometriosis or fibroids that are located in our reproductive system, our breast tissue. Yeah, it's largely emotional. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So obviously, yeah. So from way back, when I had the girls, I'd already had the endometriosis, and then obviously, there's a lot of, I guess, emotional pain and things there that you just, pop in the back of the mind and think that you're past it, and I guess I wasn't. It was just sitting there and in the body, and I hadn't released it or overcome a lot of it, which I've now, as I said, taken the time, to go through and had some different sessions and some mentoring and just take that reflection time.
Yeah, that's my next question. Like, what have you been doing? I mean, obviously, all those health problems that come up. It's forced you to reflect, and so what specifically, have you found that really has helped you heal through this, and what have you discovered?
Well, as I said earlier, I do write, and I find that helps. But I also found the biggest thing was surrounding yourself with similar people, and it might sound funny or weird to some people, but it's been a massive discovery for me to have really start aligning myself with people that have the same values and beliefs and understanding as me. And and it's funny because a lot of people who you thought, were good for you or were friends or so forth drop off when you start to really change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And actually start doing things for you and I guess being true to yourself and learning more about yourself and what you really like and so forth. And all of a sudden you attract these new people into your life. And, social media is great for that, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like I don't even recognize the person I was 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was just consumed at work, and being in an industry that's very money driven, very male dominated, and very,
a lot of testosterone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Testosterone's good. I love testosterone, but
yeah.
Yeah, but it can be if it's just really heavy on that side.
Yeah, and I guess when it's mixed with, wealth and so forth as well, being property, real estate, construction, development, those kind of things, there's a lot of ego in there, both from the male and female side, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, having different people around me, and I've had some NLP sessions, and I've tried timeline therapy. One a girl I know does that. So look, I'm open to different things, and I love to spend time down near the water. I love the ocean; it's very calming. So just finding things that I like doing.
That's cool. And how are you now?
Yeah, I'm good. Look, I don't have any health issues that I'm aware of, so I still, still have an ovary, which is nice on the other side. So hopefully that's going okay. I don't know any different. And look, everything's really great.
Yeah, that's good because you're so young still. You've got 3 grown girls. Yeah. I mean, you can have another baby.
I could.
Yeah.
I think, I think now is my time. I'm starting to travel more, and I'm going to go away at the end of this month. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So overseas travel now for pleasure, and it's good because the girls are old enough, and I can either take them with me or not, because they're obviously still very much in contact with their dad, but my eldest, she lives on her own. She's got an apartment in Brisbane City, so she's doing really well. They've all travelled overseas, both with me and independently with school and so forth. So, it's my time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so what are you working on now? Like, do you, you were saying how you get to travel with or without them. And I mean, you're quite independent and they're self-sufficient. So, what are you focusing on now? Like specifically in your life, like you're a life coach now or?
Well, I'm a business consultant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also I do personal development coaching.
Got it.
Mentoring, as I like to call it. So I just look. For years and years, I'd helped people. When I was on the phone driving home, they'd ring me for advice and business advice and this and that. And so it was only through being unwell when I couldn't work that I didn't want to go back into that, 17, 18-hour days that I declined a few job offers, and someone said to me, well, will you consult? And I'd never even thought of that. And obviously, so that's where the consulting sort of came in, where I decided that I'd go and, consult for 3 or 4 hours a month to somebody. And then someone else found out about it and wanted me to consult to them, and it just grew. So I was doing...
Oh, cool.
So I do... I do. I cap myself at around about 8 clients per month, and they're normally like on a 6-month program with me where I go and see them once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And we do weekly phone catch-ups as well. And most of the time that's people that are growing their business or just starting out in their business, needing help with staff. It's everything from sales and marketing to HR and recruitment to operational procedures. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
giving them whatever the tools they need. So
Got
it
it.
will actually be telling them how to do it. I don't do it for them because, I do like to be able to have them self-sufficient by the end of the 6 months or the 12 months, depending on what their plans are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I do that with 2 non-profit and charity groups as well. I'm very passionate about giving back and businesses that are making a social impact. So I work with a group that is in mental health and suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so I help them with setting up their programs and getting their founder and director out to do presentations in schools and things like that. So I don't charge them. I actually do that volunteer
Yeah.
for them. And also another organisation that's in Melbourne, in Victoria, who runs a youth mentoring program to get the youth off drugs, basically. So obviously a big drug problem here. So there's a guy down in Melbourne that runs a gymnasium and a mentoring program and helps the kids basically overcome drug addiction. So I put in a bit of time and effort to try and help them to run their organisations because, I think they're great at helping people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not so great at running. They don't understand the business side. And I guess if I can give them my skill and help them to run it better, that allows them to focus on what they do best, and that's being face-to-face, out with the community. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. And
yeah.
it must touch your heart a lot because of your life path, your life experience, and yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's just it's amazing. We went out on a tour through Queensland last week, and it was a presentation on drugs do not discriminate by this gentleman, and he's talking to over 1,000 kids at this school, and to see, I guess 3 or 4 of them come up afterwards and really reach out because they needed him and they needed that one-on-one conversation, and they took his number and they added themselves to the Facebook group and things like that, and you think, okay, so that just made an impact.
Yeah.
That touched kids that they needed someone and they didn't know where to go. So it's really powerful.
It really is. That is very powerful. I mean, because I can imagine children. Well, I call them children. They must feel lost.
Yeah,
which is the reason why they turn to drugs.
Yeah. So, and as I said, these both programs. So the program in Melbourne, which is the Youth U program, is run by a gentleman by the name of Glenn Munzo, and he has previously been an addict and overcome it. So there's the audience relates to him. The kids, the school kids relate to him. He's only 30 years old himself, so they're going to listen to him more than they're going to listen to the high school principal standing up there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it makes a massive difference, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
He must be pretty compelling, just for someone to talk about his story. And that probably connects them immediately.
Yeah, it does. And I guess it's twofold, because there's the kids that are obviously trying out the drugs or being offered them, but then you also have the ones come up to you whose parents are addicts, so they want to talk about the parents and maybe get a bit more understanding of what's going on with their mom and dad, or just different things like that. So it's really great. And as I said,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one's a suicide prevention program, mental health awareness. So, and the guy that runs that down in New South Wales, actually, similar story, has been there and done that and attempted suicide numerous times when he was younger, and now tries to educate people to talk about mental health and not be afraid of it, and to get help before it's too late. So that's really powerful as well.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Mm.
It's a very sensitive topic as well, and I think that people don't know how to handle it, and and people don't know how to talk about it, because it's just such
No.
but I mean, that's so powerful,
Yeah, so, I get a lot out of that, and personally I love it. And as I said, I also do a bit of mentoring myself with some youth. I don't focus on it, but I'm available for it when they come through. And I have a couple of women that I mentor personally as well, just to help them to really find themselves again.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Good.
so I just do bits and pieces of everything.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it sounds like you've got much more freedom, and and like just stepping into this new, it sounds like it's kind of like new, because you were working so much for so long, and having this open up for you. I mean, you went down the hard. It's like, they say, you gotta really learn the hard way, right?
Yeah, you do, and that's what I hopefully can help. Some of the women that come to me before they have to take the full hard road.
Yeah.
So but a lot of times, obviously, they're having some difficulties, or they've overcome something recently. So I'm doing an event on Saturday night where I'm speaking, which is for domestic violence. So I'm very community driven and social impact type thing. If we can make a difference, I'm very much about giving back.
Yeah, that's great. It's so important.
It is.
Yeah, we need more people like that in this world.
We do.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
working on it. We're working on it. We're getting our tribe together.
Cool. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So what would, if you had, like, let's say your daughter, or you had your daughter's friend or something came to you, and, they're like 15, 16, and they said something like, I want to move out, and me and my boyfriend want to have a baby. What would you say to that girl now?
And funnily enough, I've had this conversation with some of the girls' friends, to be honest.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah. And because they say, talk to my mum, she'll tell you. Because my girls go, don't do it.
Yeah.
Talk to my mum.
Yeah.
And look, I would say to them that, obviously it is possible, yes, and you can be successful, yes, because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say that. However, what I need you to understand is that it is really, really, it is difficult. And, you can obviously make your own choices. However, if you wait, not only will you be able to provide so much for your child, you will have a better understanding as to what you need and what they need, because you've got more life experience. So, financially and emotionally and physically, if you're better off to wait.
Yeah. That's
basically the conversations. And obviously, we've gone into more detail and so forth, but, and also, from, I guess, lifelong partners and things like that, but you think that that's going to be your one and only, and maybe it is. Look, maybe it is, who knows. So, it does happen, but I guess it's I try and say to them to try and have a bit more experience and time with their friends, and not put pressure on themselves, because it's not that you have a baby and then you're fine after 2 years. Like, this is a lifelong, they don't think of it as a lifelong journey, that it changes everything, not just for a year or 2 years or 3 years, but for the rest of your life. And I don't think at 15 or 16 you really comprehend that.
Yeah, that's really huge.
Yeah.
I can see that that's what a lot of girls think. You know, it's understandable because it's always, kids just live in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, even at that age.
Yep, exactly. So, so, you know, and as I said, I've said to them, they've said, oh, but you've done it. And I said, yeah, but I'm very determined. And I'll admit, and I'll say in front of the girls, it has been difficult. It has been. I mean, I love them to pieces and I wouldn't change it for the world. But understand that, you know, it has been difficult.
Yeah. And what I've been thinking through, because you keep mentioning that you have gone through the domestic violence, that was from your first, from the father,
Partner.
the first partner.
Yeah.
So I just have heard, because I personally haven't experienced that, but I've heard that, and I've seen and just read that it's quite difficult for a woman to get out of the relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I constantly see, like, you know, I currently know somebody who, I mean, she had to go to the hospital and, like, this whole thing, and even went into court, and, you know, and now, and like 3 months later, she's back with him. And it's been
it's, and I guess what I can say is that I understand that, whilst I don't obviously agree with it. I can understand that situation. It's to try and explain to an outsider who probably hasn't experienced it. It's an emotional thing where a lot of the times your confidence is stripped away, and you're not feeling good about yourself, and you don't know where else to go. So there's twofolds, because there's that, and then there's also that, you know, there could be threats going on that if they don't go back, and they're scared that they might be found and what's going to happen. So there's a number of reasons why someone will either not leave or leave and go back, because they're not getting that change. If they do find the ability to leave, they're not getting, obviously, the support maybe that they thought they would, or they might still be frightened, or they might be getting threatened, or they might feel they can't support the kids if there's children involved. There's lots of different reasons. It could be their self-worth, where they feel that bad about themselves, that, you know, who else is going to want me? Who's going to love me? You know, and it's almost like they convince themselves that only that person is going to, you know, want to be with them.
Do you think it happens a lot more common than people know?
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure about the statistics over there, but, you know, over here, it's just huge. It's on the news every day. Hence why, you know, I'm doing this event on Saturday evening. So it's just horrendous. I'm not sure of the updated figures here, but I believe it was around three women a week dying from domestic violence in Australia.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So you know, and look, it also happens. I'll acknowledge too that it happens with both genders. You know, it's not just strictly men against women, you know, it's vice versa, but obviously predominantly what we hear about, and most of the time it is an act against women. So it's quite saddening and quite frightening, and I guess I'm very passionate about that, and educating the younger kids coming through. I think that's the only way we can change it.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to understand that it is both genders. I mean, statistically, I know that it's more common with the woman being abused, but I do know, I've heard of situations where the man is totally abused, both emotionally and physically, so that's, it goes both ways. And unfortunately that it happens at all. But I think it's just so great that you're doing that, and that you're passing it on, like, you're paying it forward in terms of making a difference for young people, young children, and having an impact on that. So that's really, really great. Yeah. And you've got so much ahead of you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and like lots of opportunities arise, and it's good to just be able to meet new people and travel around and see the difference. If you can give one person that bit of confidence to leave or feel better about themselves, or to stay clean of drugs, then it's all worth it.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. So this has been really, really interesting, and I've been loving this. How can someone reach out to you if someone wants to read about you, or if somebody's hearing, somebody that is listening from your area, if they want to meet you and ask questions or anything like that?
Yeah, well, from anywhere. I mean, obviously I talk to people all over the world, so we've always got Skype and all different things, and I'm traveling more now, so they can, I have a website, so I have my own website, which is www.rebeccamccall.com. And obviously through Facebook, I have a Facebook page and profile, and also I have Instagram, where I try, share a lot of my thoughts and things on there. So yeah, you can read a bit about me on my web, and I think Facebook is a great one because I probably post once or twice a week when I start to write a lot of reflection type things. So there's a bit about my story and so forth on there, and and it's great, and I always get back to people on there, so
that's great.
It keeps me busy.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. And of course I'll be writing into the show notes and the description. So once this comes out, I'll definitely put that down so people can go to your website and reach out to you.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. I'd love to hear from anybody who is interested in learning a bit more about me or the programs I'm working with, or just wants a chat or some advice or whatever.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you've come a long way, and
thank you.
Just being a mother so young and going through that journey, having to go through motherhood from that, and discovering yourself as a mother from that early on, and then coming through to here, it sounds like, you're just starting so much, on this path, though. So so it'll be really interesting to see where you're going and what you're going to be up to, and your daughters too, where they're heading to.
No, they're doing great. So all good. All right, well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being with me today. It was really fascinating, and I'm so glad that we connected.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Marianne.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, if you'd like to get in touch with Rebecca, just go to her website at RebeccaMcColl.com. It's Rebecca, McColl. And please, if you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please do write a comment in the reviews, and also please subscribe. I would love it if you would subscribe. That would be great. I would appreciate it. And be sure to visit my website, yourdoinggreatmom.com. Send me an email. Let me know what you think. And if you'd like to be on the podcast, just send me an email and tell me you want to be on the podcast, and we'll get you on here. And just remember that you are doing great, Mom. Being a mother is the hardest job to do in the world. And the more we can listen to other women share their experiences, and also just be a part of it, just to really connect and be in touch, the more that you will feel like you're not alone, and that other women are sharing your same experience as well. Take care, and I will see you guys next week.